my friends, welcome to the next episode of the Mache Taxidermy Series. I'm excited to show you the next steps, and today I'm actually showing you some checkpoints for what you should have done with your paper armature before you move on. So last episode I went through and showed you some of the steps of how to create your paper armature. A couple of things I would like to refresh your memory of. First, you should be crumpling your paper. If you've got any areas where it's folded over rather than crumpled, that means that you might have the chance of it being a little bit squishy or sinking once we put the paper mache mixture over the top. Keep in mind that this is just paper and it's holding up a very damp and heavy mixture, so it needs to be crumpled and structurally sound so that it won't sink in once we put the mixture over the top of this. So make sure that you're crumpling your paper as much as possible. One mistake that students often make is that they look at the reference photo that they found of a paper mache version of their animal head, rather than looking at actual photographs of their animal so that they can find real details. I would highly recommend looking at real photos of your animal so that you can go through and find realistic details to add. Because when someone's created a paper mache version of something, they've already simplified it. And for this animal, we want to make sure that we're including as many details as possible. So if you are looking at a paper mache version of your animal head, I recommend that you switch now and start looking at realistic photos. So the first checkpoint that I would like for you to assess before you move on will be the eyes. So we've already gone through and I showed you how to make these in the first episode of this series. So if you missed it, you can go back. But you should have raised spheres so that when we go back with our paper mache, that you can add your eyelid and create very fine details that way. We don't want to add our fine details with our paper armature or with tape. So if you've got extra fine details, save them for the end. But what you're looking for with these eyes is got a sunken area for your eye sockets, so you should be able to see that it goes in. The second checkpoint I would like for you to look for will be your nose. And this is something that is hard for me to demonstrate just because it's so different for everybody's animal, but I'll show you just a quick clip of what my nose looked like before I added it on. I began by making a triangular shape for my nose and pinched that middle section so that it would be coming down. And I actually applied a ring underneath my nose so that when I applied it, that there would be leftover holes for the nostrils. So the checkpoint for your nose is just first making sure that if you've got nostrils that they do actually go in. So your nostrils should go in on your animal, and if you've got any specific areas that are more pronounced than others, then you should make sure that those are sticking out if you look at it from the profile. The third checkpoint is the mouth. So I would like for you to first think through whether you want the mouth to be open or closed, making sure that you've got those details kind of sketched out in your project plan before you begin. My mouth was closed, so I just went through and added a small kind of rounded section and taped it on, and then I just pressed it into the snout I had already created, so I didn't even have to make it very long. I just added it to the base of that snout and then taped it on so that it tapered. So for your mouth, make sure that you've got the same angle of the jaw as what you see in your reference photo. So making sure that this bottom section has the same angle when you look at it from the profile and when you look at it straight on compared to your reference photo. That's what we're looking for this checkpoint. The fourth checkpoint will be your face shape, so making sure that if it's got a jaw or any type of angle coming down, that is pronounced if you see that in your actual reference photo. So just double checking that from the front and from the side, the jaw angle and the rest of the head resembles your reference photo. The fifth and final step for the checkpoints of our paper armature will be the neck. Some of our necks are going to be different than others, so it's hard to say what yours will look like, but I'm attempting to make this curve backwards, and then I'm imagining that it's going to be coming off of the wall like this. So the head should be separate from the wall, because if the head is touching the wall, then it looks like it's like coming through that space rather than just being mounted from that space. So you want to make sure that it's leaning forward at least a little bit so that you've got some separation here, and then you kind of need to use that angle to figure out how much farther in your neck needs to go. So for me, I can kind of hold this straight and say, okay, I still need to fill in that little triangle to make this go flat up against a wall. Now I've got this flat section started, and that's actually gonna stay flat. So I wanna make sure that this whole edge is just perfectly level. To help with this, we are going to trace our animal onto a piece of mat board. Once you've done that, you're going to go back over your shape and make sure that it is even and symmetrical. You want to make sure that this is a large enough piece that it will allow your neck to get wider as it gets farther down. We don't want your neck to start tapering and get smaller as it gets closer to the wall. The location of this mat board will determine the angle that your animal will hang at, so place it accordingly. When you've decided where you want it to go, make sure that you place it towards the top of your animal's neck. It's always best to start with the top and then increase the bottom width rather than trying to make it get bulkier up near the base of the head. So we're going to tape this near the top of our animal's neck, and once we've done that, we're going to go through and make sure that it's even and not off to one side. You'll continue adding tape to all of the pieces that already reach the mat board. This may take some time, and you need to make sure that you don't have any large gaps or areas that didn't get filled with crumpled paper. Once the parts that reach the mat board are taped on, then it's time to start filling your gaps so that it reaches the base of that oval that you created. So you're going to take some larger pieces and start filling that space. The neck of your animal should reach all the way down to the mat board, and it should be a very flat surface all the way up until it touches the mat board and creates a perfect corner. Now, if you've got any areas that have a gap, try to fill them with extra pieces of paper and then tape it over so that it's not going to sink when you put your paper mache in that area. Apply pressure with your hands on either side of your animal's neck to see if you can feel any areas that need more paper to be even with the other side. I saw that this side sunk in a little bit too much compared to the other side, so I created a patch and added it over the top of that area. And this is what my elk looked like when I was finished adding the mat board to the back so that it would have a nice level surface. I filled those edges to make sure I didn't have any gaps, and I paid close attention to the areas that were supposed to be raised versus sunken. So that's it. I know that this was a super short episode, and it's because you really just need to be spending all of your time focusing on matching your reference photo to your paper armature. Keep in mind that this is what it will look like once we add the paper mache. Not much is going to change besides just adding that surface level shell almost. So this is what it will look like. Make sure that it's exactly the way that you want it before you move on to the next steps. So good luck, and I will see you for the next episode. Thanks for watching.